video. So as you may notice, I'm in my car. I'm not in my room, I'm in my car. And that is mostly because my tripod, my camera mount, my everything regarding that setup is currently defective, and I'm not sure how to fix it because I don't have the tools. I don't know what tools to use, so I'm just gonna be in my car using my iPhone. It's so much easier that way, less stressful. But you can see more of me, that's always nice. I think the lighting actually works out better. I promise this is not a copy of Megan Tong just as people keep talking. This is not a news show, and I don't have sunglasses, so this video is going to be like a self-confidence, acceptance, finding acceptance within yourself kind of talk. Oh, before I leave here, I should probably pay my water bill because it's right over there. So a couple of weeks ago, I launched deafpoynters.com. I write articles on there about deafness and stuff. We have guest posts, that sort of thing. And somebody emailed me on the email account that I use there, asking me about how I found acceptance, how I accepted being deaf and what have you. I think both like growing up and now. I also get comments on YouTube from, you know, people who grew up the same way as me, right? And they tell me, you know, it makes me feel good that you are confident in yourself, that you have accepted yourself because I grew up like you. I didn't get that. I still don't have that, but you are helping, which makes me feel, makes my my heart of ice feel so warm and fuzzy inside. Hello person driving, I don't care. You don't pay my bills. For the record, this is a very chill sit down video, and I feel like I might just do this from now on. I like it. And so, you know, those comments made me feel nice and warm inside, and I figure this video needs to be done because it's an important topic, but also because it will help me with my presentation next month about finding a deaf identity. More news on that later, link down below. So let me start off by saying that I was not always as confident as I am now, and I still am not even always confident now. That's something that I don't think is ever going to be 100% 24/7. We all have insecurities at certain times, whatever, right? So as a kid, when I first got diagnosed, I didn't really pay that much attention to it because it just wasn't something I was familiar with. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't worried about it. I never noticed it. So when I was diagnosed, even for like the first year or so, I didn't care. The only things that were important to me were, am I going to be able to watch Pokemon at 6:30 in the morning before school? Is Busted What I Go to School For going to show up on MTV before I go to school? Because I love that song. And am I going to be able to watch Sailor Moon at 4 p.m. on Cartoon Network? Actually, I think that show was canceled by the time I was 12 on Cartoon Network. But anyway, it just didn't matter to me then. It wasn't important. I didn't know anything about it. I just didn't pay attention to it. When I was hanging out with friends, I never had an issue because nobody really noticed anything. We were kids, you know, whatever. All we had to do was go run around outside. Everything was, you know, dandy. Now, in school, that was a little bit of an issue, a different issue. I made videos about when my U.S. history teacher made fun of my incomplete work out loud to the class in front of everybody. I think I mentioned comments my math teacher made senior year about how I wasn't paying attention enough. There were times when I would be like hanging out with the more popular kids because I was an outsider when I was in school, okay? So sometimes that made me feel, having hearing loss made me feel very insecure when I was a kid because, you know, like when the more popular people would ask me questions or whatever, I wouldn't understand them and then they would kind of like snicker. So that kind of made me feel awkward. When I started getting to senior year of high school, that kind of did it for me, I think. Group projects always made me feel insecure because I couldn't keep up with anybody. I had no idea what was going on. So I kind of looked like the lazy kid that really didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to participate. But that wasn't I just don't feel like doing anything. That was I really have no idea what's going on type of thing. I didn't really have a lot of friends. I don't really think that had that much to do with the whole being deaf thing, but you know, if trying to keep up with conversations and stuff like at lunch or whatever, it makes you feel insecure. It's just one of those things that kind of added to it because when you're the only deaf person in that entire school, actually I think there was one other girl who was deaf. She wore hearing aids on both sides, but I didn't really like her all that much, so we weren't friends. She annoyed me, but so that was the thing. So really, I was the only person those last 2 years of high school there. She was there for the first 2 years. Last 2 years, she went somewhere else. So it was just, it didn't make me feel all that great. And then, you know, once I graduated high school, I did take a year off school. But it was I wanted to take a year off to find myself and maybe find some more. That never happened. Lack of college was a thing because of lack of financial funds. Lack of finances, there we go. And, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. There was a lack of accessibility because when I went to ask about it, they were kind of just like, huh? What's that? Like, I don't know what that means. So there was that. You know, I tried finding retail jobs for quite some time. Part of it was difficult because I didn't have a license, so I had to rely on rides, which wasn't going to happen. Nobody was going to drive me back and forth, but people also weren't going to teach me how to drive, so that took a while. You know, when I had that one interview at Chipotle, they didn't want me because I couldn't hear them very well, and they were concerned that I wasn't going to, you know, answer people, and it was just a difficult time. And, you know, when it came to dating, you know, I was doing online dating and I liked a few people, but I was always petrified of actually meeting them in real life. One, because you never know if they're gonna be creepy, right? But also because, well, what if I don't understand this person? Like, what if I go to meet them and we can't have a conversation because I'm just gonna be like, huh? What? Can you repeat that over and over and over? Which can potentially get on somebody's nerves. So there was that. That's something that can take a toll on you because you're always wondering, okay, there's something wrong with me. Like, yeah, there's something wrong with my ears. I can't hear very well. That's something that's wrong with me. But it was just, like, I always felt like I wasn't going to be good enough for friends, for a boyfriend, or whoever, whatever I would be dating. So that was mostly from years, like 16 years of age to around 20. So we get to the acceptance part, right? Not 100%, but once I started doing YouTube, and once I got into Tumblr was really when it all started for me. Because I wanted to find out more about me, about who I was, about this whole death thing that I had. Because the most that I knew about myself really was just me writing all my makeup videos on the intro when I was a makeup vlogger. This person is hearing impaired. All rude comments about her voice will be deleted and you'll be blocked or something. That was pretty much everything that was deafness related to me. Nothing else. I knew nothing else. I knew ABCs and ASLs. That was it. I had no idea about deaf culture, a deaf community, that type of thing. So once I started doing research on Tumblr, I noticed that, hey, there might be other people like me. There's like, what is this deaf culture thing that is happening right here in this little tag section of Tumblr? And then I started learning more and more, not just about like the scientific part of it, like the medical part of it, but the fact that there was like a group of people that had events and celebrated this kind of stuff and what have you. It was like this little family. And as someone who grew up not really having family at all, it was very new to me. But it made me feel kind of happy. A little bit weird because family, you know, when you grow up, at least for me, when you grow up without family for so long, like really, the idea of a family is very strange to you. But I was just kind of happy that there was something that I knew, or people like me. I really have no idea where I'm going with this video. This was slightly unplanned. Oh well, it's a chit chat video, we're fine. So when I decided to quit doing makeup videos on YouTube because it was pointless to me, and I started doing, you know, deaf basics on YouTube, like just regular everyday kind of stuff, simple. When the very first deaf Q&A came out, I cannot talk, I'm running out of voices. I'm running out of my voice. When the deaf Q&A came out and shit hearing people say came out, it went sort of viral. The Q&A went sort of viral, but then shit hearing people say really went viral. And that's when other deaf people started finding my videos and they started following me on Twitter, and then I was following people on Tumblr, and we started having conversations. That changed everything for me because I did not feel so alone. I saw these other people that had friends, had a family, had hobbies that were going pretty well for them. And that's when I finally started learning to really accept myself and who I was and what my ears were or what they were not. And honestly, I think that if that were to never happen, then I wouldn't be where I am now. Now, like I said, it's not 100% 24/7. I still get insecure sometimes, you know, if I meet new people, if random strangers are coming up to me asking questions, I sometimes really shut down. I still remember the time when a woman at Food Line came up to me to ask me something, and I told her I couldn't understand her, and she kind of looked like I had the plague, looked as if I had the plague, and ran off. And, you know, just other things that people try to do to try to make me feel smaller than them. There are times and I'm just like, okay, whatever, lady, whatever, kid, I'm gonna move on, whatever, you go be the way that you are. But then there are some times when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hide in a corner now. This often happens, honestly, at stuff like VidCon and Buffer Festival and pretty much anything that's like that. Whenever I go to YouTube Space in Toronto, there was a lot of, you know, like happy hour things. That was a spot that always made me very self-conscious, and that was just last year. So big social outings still, they make me very, very nervous, because I am going to be that person that doesn't understand what the heck is going on unless there is somebody interpreting or typing for me. I am a very strong believer in representation. I believe that finding acceptance in yourself is easier if there is representation out there. So you have stuff like Switched at Birth. Granted, it's not perfect, it has its issues, but it's the best thing here right now. Before that, it was Sue Thomas FBI, which I have not seen. I would really love to. But right now, Switched at Birth is the best thing that's on television for representation at this moment. On mainstream television anyway, not the other stuff like The Chances and like other small projects that's happening. That's also representation. But as far as mainstream media goes, you know, you turn on ABC Family, Switched at Birth is the best thing that's there. And that's ending. It's on its last season. So when that's over, where's the representation now? Because right now there isn't another TV show like that. And if you do have deaf characters that show up, they're played by hearing people. And I don't want to turn this into an argument about, oh, hearing people can't act out as deaf people. But it's just, representation is important, you know, to finding acceptance in yourself. At least I think that. At least for me personally, that's what made it easier. I also believe sometimes in the fake it till you make it mentality, where you like to think that you're hot stuff even if nobody else seems to like really give a crap. If you can do it without getting like overly conceited and acting like you're top dog of the world, like just forcing that confidence in yourself for a little bit until it like sticks. That worked out for me. It might not work out for everybody, but you know, it helped for me. Self-acceptance and self-confidence is difficult. For a lot of people, not even just marginalized people, like everybody. A lot of people around the world have insecurities. That's just the way it is. That's what makes us human. We are not Terminators who are completely emotionless, unless you are Cameron. Sarah Connor Chronicles, anybody. So yeah, that's my thing. I'm gonna try to have a written post on deaf pointers that'll hopefully make this video sound a little more eloquent. I don't know, I'm trying to have a nice, like, chill conversation as if we were like friends talking to each other, rather than me being a YouTuber who is like shouting things at you that's like half scripted, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. I hope that helped a little bit. If you want to follow me on my social media, links to that will be down below. If you want to help support my content, you can do so by being a patron on Patreon or leaving a tip on Coffee. Both links to those will be down below. I upload every Monday and Thursday unless otherwise stated, and I will see you later.